Oh, again, it's just getting my stuff out there while I had the chance. So anyway, this video is about my second day working at the Ogden bus yard, and everybody when I was down at Meadow garage, everybody warned me about how cliquish and clannish the Ogden bus yard is. And what it is with the Ogden bus yard is they don't like drivers that didn't hire into the Ogden bus yard. So I didn't hire into the Ogden bus yard. I hired in at Meadow, but because I live 6 minutes walking distance from the Ogden bus yard, I transferred over to the Ogden bus yard. It makes perfect sense because for about 6 months my commute round trip was about 80 miles driving to Meadow from Meadow, or driving from Ogden to Meadow to do my bus route, because I had, it's a normal union thing. You have to wait for your bid to bid up. And so I needed to transfer to the Ogden bus yard so that I'm not driving 80 miles a day in a Ford Excursion getting to work when I live 6 minutes walking distance from the Ogden bus yard. So anyway, my first day at the Ogden bus yard went great. It was awesome. No problems or anything like that. Professional driver, 30 years in the business, Southern California, Kentucky, yada, yada, yada. So, well, the first day it was awesome. It was easy. No problems. But the second day, I didn't even know who my supervisor was. She never introduced herself to me, never looked for me, or anything like that. So anyway, I come into the Ogden bus yard, walk in, say, hey, I'm ready for work. And this is the second day I was at the Ogden bus yard. And all of a sudden, this person I have never met comes straight out into the public area, not even in the dispatch office or in a back room or anything like that. So, I'm all excited because my first day went perfect and I'm ready to do my second perfect day. And my supervisor comes up to me, gets in my face, and gets all PO'd at me. That's politically correct, I think, nowadays. And tells me, gets angry with me because one of their regular drivers, one of the regular driver that I took over the route from would drop off this one passenger in his favorite spot. And I got a complaint from not dropping this passenger off, not dropping him off at the bus stop, but he complained because I didn't drop him off at his favorite spot. So that was my very first experience with the Ogden bus yard. And then after that, it was a continuous thing. During that time, the route 603 was under perpetual construction because they're doing the OGX and all that stuff. This is all pre that drama. So anyway, we had stupid things like they had one supervisor, a big fat guy, and I can't give him any more description of him. But anyway, he's a big fat guy. He gets on my bus. He's a supervisor, and I'm driving the bus. And the 603 at that time, the scheduling was so bad that every 3 runs, you were one run down or one run ahead. So every loop, you had to wait for one run to be on time for your own route. Well, I got into trouble for doing that, and apparently because what they wanted is they wanted to have all of the 603 buses stacked up at the Ogden station. And so at one point we had a detour on top of a detour. And the detour that was on top of the detour wasn't announced because it had just barely happened. And I was in a spot where there's no bus stops, just a turn, a right-hand turn, and I'm back on schedule. So I get into the bus yard, and this big fat guy gets on my bus in front of all my passengers and gets into my personal space and starts lambasting me for breaking the route without permission. Now, the routes are time sensitive, so I had to, and there's no bus stops in the area where I would have had to have bypassed. So I did let's see, left, right-hand turn, and went around, and then got back on route, and was my one run down on time to have to sit and wait for the route to catch up with me doing the 603. Then the other thing is there was a little guy, he's a little gnome-like guy. I think he just recently passed away. That's what I was told. But he had a man crush on me, and I had complained about him getting into my personal space, touching me, and not sitting in his walker correctly, and it was a perpetual thing that I had to put up for a whole bid with this guy. So and I had complained about him to get him banned at least off of my bus, because the buses run on regular schedule, so they know exactly what. Don't bug this driver. You're banned from riding with this driver. That's for our protection. They never did that. The UTA never fixed that problem with the guy. And eventually, I switched over to a different route that he didn't ride. But I got in trouble for doing a diversion on a route, on a section of the route where there are no bus stops, no diversions, and no delay in time, because I'm already one run down or one run fast because of the way the 603 route was running back then. And it was a flat-footed route. You were floored for almost the whole run, except for going through Weber State University or college or whatever you want to call it. But that's all it was. It was a bypass to trying to stay on time, because the passengers have an expectation of you being on time. And then the other things that would happen is I switched over to the Brigham run, partly because it was fairly easy, and well, I had seniority. When you have seniority, you get your choices. So on the Brigham run, it was it's an okay run. The only problem is you do the whole run, which is 15 miles or so round trip, or less, and there's no stop break for the driver at the end of the run. You only have 7 minutes to run in and go pee and then come back out, and then you got to go back on the run. Well, I had this one lady that was explosively angry all the time, and this was late night, and so I had to put up with that. And I never complained about it to the supervisors because it was kind of pointless. I couldn't at that time of night, midnight. I couldn't have her banned, because then she would have no way home. But what ended up happening was on that route, I would always get crappy buses. And they would always break down. They were the older buses that break down. And this lady would blow up on me because of something that I had no control over, the maintenance of the buses. So that was my experience at the Ogden bus yard. Now, I have my fair share of what we call, and I don't mean it in a derogatory sense, but my passengers, I tend to collect passengers that like me, and I have bus groupies, and which is good and bad, you know, but because Ogden society is pretty, we know each other, the people. So anyway, I kept going through all this persecution from the management of the Ogden bus yard because I was a transfer up from the Meadowbrook garage, that I went, you know what, it's just not worth it to be being harassed by the management perpetually over because I didn't get hired into their bus yard. So what I did is I transferred down to Central Garage, and everybody warned me, stupid me. Well, now at Central Garage, it's called Depot now, but back then, I would go out to get my bus. I'd drive down from Ogden to Salt Lake City, and on the weekends, and my bus is cold because it's not been started or anything like that. Well, there you would have the mechanics with 3 or 4 other buses out there that are idling and running and everything like that. But I was not allowed to go out and warm up my bus for my passengers. It's wasting fuel. Excuse me? Your fuel is basically free. So, and you have diesel scrubbers on the bus and everything like that. So basically I was being punished for not being part of the Central Garage at UTA. Okay, so I'm doing everything I can to avoid this drama and harassment with the UTA. So I transferred back down to Meadowbrook. Now you got to figure, I'm driving from Ogden, Utah, every day, or let's see, was it every day? Yeah, it was every day, all the way down to the Meadowbrook garage to do my runs. Because I'm trying to avoid a drama. I just want to drive the bus. So I'm dealing with that with Depot or the Ogden or the Central Garage. So I transferred out of the Central Garage and went back down to Meadowbrook Garage. Well, one of the runs was on the weekend, and my bus was, all the other buses were warmed up, but my bus wasn't warmed up, and then they would hold me to the minute to time to go, and I had to drive from 39th South all the way down to downtown Salt Lake City for the Depot run, or that run. In I would say every other weekend, my bus was missing, or not ready, or there was a problem with the bus continuously. So I went in and to the front desk and talked to the dispatcher. And I'm not angry. There's no profit in being angry with somebody that has no control over the situation. That's just not there. So I was talking to the dispatch person, and there was a supervisor sitting in the dark in the supervisor's area. And he came out with a piece of paper, a resignation paper, and told me, if you don't like it here, you can quit. Now, what in the heck did I do wrong? I only have 15 or 20 minutes to make it from 39 South to downtown Salt Lake City on the freeway, basically flat-footed, to do my run. What did I do? A driver with no accidents, no incidents, no passenger problems that I've been made aware of. Why am I being treated this way? I feel like I was targeted to be eliminated, and the reason why is because I'm at the top of my pay scale with the UTA. And what they're trying to do is cut costs by harassing drivers to quit. That's my opinion. And that's what I've been through. And that was working part of the time with my injured foot while it was healing and dealing with all this other pain. So here I am doing the best job I can, getting zero support from a hostile work environment in Ogden, hostile work environment at Central Garage, and then having to go through the same thing when they switched over to Depot, and because they did so many changes, and I was trying to keep up with being on time with everything. And as far as I know, no passenger complaints or anything like that, having to deal with all these detours going on in Sugar House, and then trying to stay on time going all the way out to Sandy, Utah. And the other things that I did for UTA when I was down at Meadow Garage was I was doing the snow routes. And for me, I grew up in that area, up in the mountain area of Salt Lake City, between Big Cottonwood Canyon and Little Cottonwood Canyon, and never had any accidents or anything like that, or never even scared anybody, because I'm a good driver. I've been driving for 30 years. I've done this. Driving is my natural element. So this is the way UTA treats its drivers. And I possibly, by posting this video, I could be sabotaging my chances of ever working for the UTA ever again. But here's the thing. I prefer to be out in the bus. I prefer to be around my passengers. I like my passengers. 90% of my passengers like me. I have bus groupies, people that will only ride my bus. And, I even tried to get light duty work with UTA. I even tried going into the, because I could have done this easily. I could have gone into the ESL program to help train drivers who are language limited. Now, because, they're coming from all over the world. Well, I'm a multilingualist. And I can say hello to anybody in a bunch of different languages. I don't want to count them right now. But it's just crazy that I would have to go through all this crap when all I did was transfer to the Ogden bus yard so that I could live 6 minutes walking distance away from my house instead of commuting 80 miles a day to go to work, to stay away from a hostile work environment at the Ogden bus yard. Now, the way I was raised is don't rock the boat, get along, play along. If something bad happens, that's just part of it. But from my perspective, after the first time I got hurt, it was just completely engineered to get me out of the UTA. I'm still fully functional, and that's a different story. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'm getting these stories out so that for posterity, because I don't know where I'm going to be. And there it is. Have a good day. See you later. Bye-bye.